Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Kevin Jeffries, President and CEO of the Leawood Chamber of Commerce, and we're happy to have Rosana, Privitera, Biondo, Gail, and Beth Soukup panelists today. But first, I'd like to kick things off by thanking our annual sponsors. Without their if my thing would work here. Okay, there was our panelists. There's our annual sponsors. Without their continued support, the Chamber wouldn't have been able to keep things going during this really difficult time. So we really appreciate their support and their support every year. So thanks especially to our 2020 presidential sponsors, Advent Health, Burns & McDonnell, Country Club Bank, CrossFirst Bank, Demdeco, and Menorah Medical Center. Also, a special thank you to our today's event sponsors, our presenting sponsor, CrossFirst Bank, our series sponsors, Advent Health and Bucati Companies, and our supporting sponsor, Cosentino's Price Chopper. Again, all of you are very much appreciated, and we couldn't do it without you. So before I turn things over to our presenting sponsor to say a few words, I wanted everyone to be on the seminar today to mark your calendar for October 1st. That will be our final event of this three-part women's series for 2020. We're going to have representatives from the Girl Scouts, Kansas City Area Development Council, and 1KC for Women. So stay tuned for that. So at this point then, I'm going to welcome our representative of our presenting sponsor, Melanie Glassman. She's Director of KC Relationship Banking at CrossFirst Bank. So take it away, Melanie.
Thanks, Kevin. CrossFirst Bank's proud to be the presenting sponsor of the Leawood Chamber's Women's Series in 2020. Over the last 13 years, CrossFirst Bank's grown to be the third largest bank headquartered in Kansas City by asset size. We've been recognized as the top 5 strongest large banks in Kansas City by the Kansas City Business Journal, top 10 in commercial loan growth by Kansas City Business Journal, and top 50 fastest growing companies in Kansas City by Ingram's. At CrossFirst Bank, we realize our clients deserve more than an ordinary relationship, which is why we were founded, to bring a level of service and trust to banking that can only be described as extraordinary. I'd love the opportunity to talk more about our local locations, experienced bankers, and how we can help you with your banking needs. Please reach out to me if I or any of my colleagues could help you with your business or personal financial needs. Now, I'd like to introduce one of our series sponsors for today, Rob Harold, the Vice President of Ambulatory Network at Advent Health.
Good morning, everyone. Great to see you. Advent Health is pleased to sponsor the Leawood Chamber Women's Series. I think you'll find these ladies extremely talented and willing to share their secrets to success in non-traditional businesses. For me, this is an honor because I count each of them as friends and colleagues in the Kansas City business community. So now let me tell you a little bit about Advent Health. We have a new facility at College Boulevard, right on College and Metcalf. This opened in February. It's a freestanding emergency department, lab, radiology, and right now it's in addition to those things, which we're very excited to offer to this area, doing a lot of pre-procedure COVID testing as we make sure that we're a very safe place for all of the people coming back to have the procedures that they weren't able to do during the stay-at-home order. We will also have primary care at this location and specialty services to support this area of the community. Advent Health South Overland Park has been open since 2017. It's an emergency room, lab, radiology, medical office building, and we're building a 85-bed hospital that will open in October of 2021. And that picture on the lower side is not what it looks like now, because right to the east, there's a lot of construction coming out of the ground. The question we get asked most in that area is, will you be doing OB down there? And the answer is a resounding yes. And so we're excited to provide that service to the South Overland Park area.
Okay.
So now I'm going to pass it back to Melanie and to Kevin to introduce our esteemed panel.
Thanks, Robin. We're extremely fortunate to have 3 panelists join us today who are members of the Kansas City Business Journal's Women Who Mean Business honorees, an elite group of female business leaders who have made significant strides in their industry as well as their community. Our first panelist is Rosie Privitera Biondo, president of MarkOne Electric. She's a founding employee of MarkOne Electric, a specialty electrical contracting firm. In 1994, after 20 years with the company, as an employee and a secretary-treasurer, she became the president and owner of MarkOne. Rosana currently oversees the day-to-day operations of the company, and under her leadership, the company has been listed as the #1 electrical contractor in the Kansas City Business Journal. And I'm sure we've all seen their trucks and construction trailers throughout the region for many years. Rosana's always been very committed to her employees and their well-being, but she's also committed to the Kansas City area community, holding numerous board positions within the area with area businesses and nonprofits. Kevin, that's you.
Oh, sorry. I am so sorry. I was having so much trouble with some other technology here. I guess I thought it worked well, but it did not. Now, poor Gail, who is our second panelist, it's really weird. Every time I touch my mouse, things move. So please bear with me, everyone. Our second panelist is Gail, owner of Gail's Harley Davidson. Gail purchased Gail's Harley Davidson at the young age of 35, celebrating her 20th anniversary this year. Don't do the math. She has been a powerhouse in the Harley Davidson world since the very beginning. She's only one of a handful of female motorcycle dealerships owners in the country. Gail has been on Harley Davidson's International Dealer Advisory Group, along with Harley Davidson's National Dealer Advisory Group, serving as their first female DAC president. Gail, and you'll see this when she speaks, she has a real passion for the positive. She attributes her success to her abilities to set herself and her company apart from the crowd and to surround herself with driven and passionate people who can see her vision. Gail knows she has been blessed and works every day to pay that forward. She's involved in the Kansas City Crime Commission, as well as in constant support of our first responders and our military. Giving back to the community is her calling. So now it's your turn.
Our third panelist for today is Beth Soukup, Executive Vice President and CFO at J.E. Dunn. Beth has been in the financial industry for over 30 years and then became Chief Financial Officer with J.E. Dunn in June of 2014. Prior to joining J.E. Dunn, Beth had 28 years of experience with RSM, formerly McLattery LLP, the fifth largest public accounting firm in the United States. As CFO at J.E. Dunn, Beth has the primary day-to-day responsibility for planning, implementing, managing, and controlling all financial related activity of the company. This includes direct responsibility for accounting, finance, forecasting, job costing, shareholder relationships, and corporate compliance. Like our other panelists, Beth's been very involved in the community and on many civic and nonprofit boards. Thank you all for joining us today. Now that we've introduced each of our panelists, and as we continue our discussion, please feel free to enter any questions for our panelists using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, the chat bar. We'll try to answer as many as we have time for.
Kevin, you're on mute.
I am clearly on late time. I apologize to everyone. So, it is what it is. So, thanks for, again, for Melanie and everyone for all your help on this. This first question we're going to ask, Melanie and I are going to go. And the first question we want to ask is for everyone, and we'd like to hear from each of you on this. We'd like to hear a little more about what it's been like working in a predominantly male industry and what made you choose this path. So since I already alluded to the person that has lots of energy, we're going to start with Gail on that one.
Awesome. Okay, first of all, I apologize, I'm wearing a ball cap. I rode my motorcycle in this morning, and I gotta say, everyone here should start their day riding a Harley Davidson because it is incredible and you feel good the rest of the day. Then when you go home at the end of the day, anything that happens, you just forget about it. It's awesome. So now, I'm sorry, Kevin, but I forgot your question.
Well, we'd like to hear more about what it's like working in a predominantly male industry and what made you choose that path.
Okay, I chose this path because I grew up around motorcycles. Since I was very young, I've been around motorcycles. My parents bought a Harley Davidson dealership when I was a kid, and I grew up around it, decided I wanted to get into Harley Davidsons. I love the Harley Davidson people, everything about them, and just motorcycles in general. So that's how I got into it. I will tell you, being a female in a man's world was, I had to be smart. I had to know everything about motorcycles, about my field, I had to know more than the average guy to look almost as smart as him or almost as qualified as him. But, you know, it wasn't scary as far as that part goes, because my dad always, from growing up as a little kid, my dad always expected me to jump higher than everybody else, because he always said, man, if you want to succeed in this life, you have to be better than everybody else to appear equal. So I always did. So that's why I think that's what it's like being a woman in a man's world. You do have to be better. But, you know, I don't think that that's a negative. I really don't. I don't see that there is a downside to being a woman in a man's world, because if you put your head on straight and realize that, yeah, you have to work harder, but what's wrong with that? It's awesome.
Yeah.
So there's my answer.
Okay, Rosie, what are your thoughts on that same question?
Well, first, I'm going to tell you how I chose my industry. So my path started as my high school summer job, and that job enabled me to get a car and make a paycheck. So that was my first interest in going to work. And I was extremely happy with that. And then that became my life. All of a sudden, next thing I know, that became my world, okay? And for me, my summer job is who I am. I just think about that. I still have friends today who say, do you still work for the family business? Is your dad still there? I mean, so it's kind of amazing that, you know, friends from high school still can recall me going to work when I was in high school. But interesting enough, you know, I was raised with 3 brothers, so I was already accustomed to being in a male-dominated family, all right? And I was treated more like a son than a daughter. And so I kind of knew what it was like to be in a man's world. So I had a few ideas about how to move forward. 1 was stand your ground. 2 is make sound decisions. 3, always know that you can make a mistake, but have plan B and know what plan B is. So when you have your mistake, that you're already in line for how you're going to correct it. And so working in a male-dominated field, the issues are you need to be different than the male-dominated companies. So my position is, how do I set myself as being different than a male-dominated company, okay? And again, so what are my standards for being different? Stand your ground, make sound decisions, and always know that your mistakes can be corrected and have plan B. So that's what I live by.
Awesome. And Beth, how about you?
All right, so I grew up in Iowa. Kevin, you and I talked about that. I grew up a little different than Rosie. I was surrounded by 10 siblings, so I was 9th out of 11. So eight girls, and then 3 boys. So I had a little different. So with that, grew up fairly poor, and so numbers came pretty easily to me. And so luckily, I had a really good teacher in high school bookkeeping class that really kind of got me interested in numbers. And luckily was able to go to Iowa State University and became an accountant, which 35 years ago was very male dominated. But kind of back to Gail's point, worked hard, stayed focused, was smart anyway, but was smarter, and just worked hard, and then worked my way up to a partner. First female partner in North Carolina was where I lived at the time. So just, and we may talk about this a little later, but finding a strong mentor and someone that's also a sponsor. So someone that's in that room with all the guys 25 years ago that had my back. So having that person that kind of fought for you, that said, yeah, no, Beth is doing a great job, and she will do a great job. So I'm going to support her to be a manager or senior manager or partner. So that's kind of how I grew up in a very male dominated industry. Came over to J. Dunn 6 years ago, and the construction industry overall is about where I felt public accounting was when I went into it. So still very male dominated, but just slowly showing that women can be successful in construction, women can be successful in public accounting, and so just kind of changing those dynamics.
All right, so as a follow-up for all of you, we're going to ask the same this question to all three panelists. What advice would you give a woman who is early in their career, looking to switch into maybe an industry that could be more male-dominated? Rosie, you've kind of given us your three tips. Is there anything else you would give somebody just starting out into a career that maybe would help them?
Yeah, one of the things that I think both Beth and Gail said is know your craft, okay? So know your craft, keep your confidence level high, okay? And make sure that you can, that with your confidence level that you can't be broken. I mean, you have to believe in yourself so much that even when they tell you no, it's yes to you, okay? And that is, I have lived by that. They tell me no, yes is even further down the path. I mean, no means yes to me in business, okay? So definitely, I don't take no for an answer very easily, all right? So especially if I know my path is solid, okay? You know, every once in a while you might have a little crooked path, but most of the time, if you're on that right path, yes is the right way to go, and stick by your guns. And the other thing I did for myself, and I think both, again, Gail and Beth said this indirectly, is keep yourself educated about what's going on in your industry. You know, that's one thing that I was very vigilant about, is getting all the education that I needed once I actually got into this business, taking different classes, you know, making sure I knew everything I needed to know about my company and why it functions the way it does. I mean, sometimes people are surprised when I know the answer because they think you're the CEO and president. How do you know that? Well, because I did I wanted to make sure I knew how everything worked so I could give good advice to my team. Sometimes it's overbearing because I almost know too much. So I need to kind of cut it back. But I think those are things that are important. And then the most important thing about, to me, your work, your job, your life is, if you love what you're doing, it's not a job. If you love what you're doing, it's not work. It's just who you are. And so, you know, for coming to the same place for as long as I have and still liking it and knowing that I'm going to proceed for a while longer tells me that it's a passion. And if you have passion in what you're doing, you can just go on forever with it. And there is no age limit. And I think that that's really important in life, because the younger you stay, the more vibrant you could give so much more, and then you can mentor more people. And, you know, I have lots of ladies who call me, ask me for advice constantly, and I love giving it. I hope they take it, but I love giving it. It makes you feel good. So that's all.
Beth, how about you? What advice would you give a young woman starting out in her career?
Yeah, so if you're already working in another industry and you're that isn't as male dominated, and then coming over to an industry that is more male dominated, I mean, very similar to Rosie, you have to play on your strengths. Look at what got you to where you are in your career now, and just continue to exploit those things that got you to where you are in the world you are now. So just continue to focus on your strengths. Don't focus on any weaknesses. Women are as smart as men, a lot of times smarter than men. We work just as hard, a lot of times even harder, because we're taking a larger share sometimes of the home life. So just continue to just focus on your strengths and what got you to where you are in your career as of now.
Gail, how about you?
Well, Rosie and Beth are spot on. Oh gosh, knowing your field, That's huge, because a lack of knowledge makes us appear weak. And that's when the stereotypical female fangs come out, because we feel like we're weak and maybe we don't know. And then we start second guessing ourselves. Other people start second guessing us and we lash out. And sadly, that's why a lot of people look at women and think, oh, I don't think she belongs in this field or whatever it is. So just know your stuff, know it. Oprah said knowledge is power, and she was just right on about that. And always pursue excellence. Don't take second best. Second best is not going to get you there. You have to pursue excellence. Make your bed every morning. I know it sounds silly. That's, you know, that's that thing you hear about all the time on the YouTube, but it's true. If you don't pursue excellence in your personal life, you're not going to get it in your professional life. That's what I think.
It's good. You guys are all giving some great thoughts here. We really appreciate it. Now, kind of in that same vein, I think that we all know every one of us is a product of the environment we grew up in. And, you know, were there any specific events in each of your lives where maybe people in your formative years helped you realize your potential? So Beth, since you had 10 people around helping you plus your parents, were there any formative things happening in your life that really helped you realize what you could be and who you could be?
Yeah, you know, I think I mentioned my high school bookkeeping teacher that really kind of just helped guide me to go on to college, because some of my older siblings chose not to go to college. So it was my 7th oldest that was the first, and he was a man. So he did go to college. So he was our first one, but that still didn't mean that my older sister and I would go off to college. But he really kind of was very positive on, yeah, you are smart, you can do it. My family was very supportive of it, but they didn't grow up going to college, my mom and my dad. And so it really wasn't, you know, as an option for me. It was more, you know, graduate, go get a job, graduate from high school, go get a job, get married, have children. It was when my older brother went, and then that high school accounting teacher, bookkeeping teacher, had said, well, you can go to college also, you know. And then once I got to college, you know, my world opened up.
Sure.
And so I would say that was really kind of my pendulum switching and being able to go to college and experience college and kind of opening up the world for me.
Gail, how about you? Formative years events that really shaped and kind of helped you move towards where you are.
Okay, so I found out when I was in high school that if I saw it in my mind, if I truly saw it in my mind and I felt it in my heart, I could become whatever it is in my head that I wanted to become. I knew when I was in junior high that I was going to be student body president one day. I knew it. And I was. It was so weird. I also, this is a crazy thing. Okay, so when I was in high school, I was a little overweight. I was very popular, but I was not thin. I look pretty good now, but it was because of those fat high school years that got me here. But anyway, I somehow got nominated to be the queen, winter sports queen. It was in my head. I thought, man, I'm going to be winter sports queen. And I did it. How on earth this fat chick became winter sports queen, I'll never know. But I'm telling you, I knew it in my head. And that's what I kept dreaming. I thought, man, if I can think hard enough, I can do anything I want to do. And so you just think it, and it becomes it. And it's weird how it works. But I will tell you, I lost my mojo several years ago. You lose it too. If you don't focus on it, you can lose it. And if you focus the wrong way and think, man, what makes me think that I'm so good? Oh my gosh, you're going to wake up one day and you'll be slipping and falling, and you're going to have to catch yourself and shake yourself out of it and say, okay, I got this. I'm going to be amazing again. And you can make yourself do it. So that's what happened when I was a kid. I started figuring it out, but I didn't really know it. till pretty recently, actually. I mean, I just didn't realize what I was realizing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah. It was, you were feeling it, you were doing it, but you weren't consciously doing it, kind of.
Right,
But now
exactly.
it's more conscious. Rosie, how about with you? Some events in your early life?
Well, I would say for me, it was parents, were very influential in setting a path. While working with my dad very closely, in my early years of working, there were things that I learned that I said, wow, those are things I don't want to do. These are things I do want to do. So when it did come time for me to step up into my role, I was able to take, I hope, the good, the bad, and the ugly and go to get closer to the good of all those things, because, someone else was in charge, and when someone else is in charge, you go down their path. And so, when I took over the company, it was, I needed to change his persona into my persona. And that wasn't quite an undertaking, okay? Yeah. Because he was one of those people that was bigger than life himself. And so therefore, it probably took me 10 years to get that switched. And having other people in the industry that were supportive of me. I mean, I'm going to mention Terry Dunn right now. I mean, the Dunn family, Terry, Steve, Bill, the dad, they were very helpful to me. I'll never forget when I first started working closely with Terry, and he took me to lunch at the River Club. And that was a really big deal. I'd never been to the River Club. I thought I was.
I never have. Yeah.
And we had this mulligatawny soup thing that they made this big deal about. And he said, you will be able to do this many millions in this amount of time. And I'm like, well, that'll never happen. And I, just exceeded that by leaps and bounds, because he kind of gave me this roadmap. I mean, I'm trying to follow the J.E. Dunn roadmap on family succession and how things are done and how they treat people. And I mean, they were great mentors to me, all the family of the Dunn family. Great role models for Kansas City, and I can't thank them enough. And, Beth, that's why I always talk so highly about all of you, is because you guys have done a lot for us. But it's good to have people who are supportive, and then, you could call them for advice. They give it to you, and they're very brutally honest, and that's what you need. You need people who are going to tell you, don't do this, do that. And, and you make your own decisions. And like I said, you got to have plan B.
Well, kind of keeping with that theme, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier about having a sponsor and having that mentorship. But if someone wanted to get a mentor to aid in their career development, how would you recommend to start? Maybe what would they think about in choosing somebody, and maybe how do you ask that person to be a mentor? Gail, do you want to start with that one?
Okay, kind of, I didn't have, okay, so as far as gender, man or woman, let's start with that. I don't think that it really matters. I never had a woman mentor growing up. It was all men. It was motorcycles were all about men. So I surrounded myself with men who I looked up to, and I would tell you, they were awesome. Even though they looked at me like I was some kid and should probably be a secretary, they helped me. Men are chivalrous. Ask them for help and they will help you, because they feel really good about themselves when they do. So that we cannot discount the men. And also, I kind of feel bad for men, because I think women have it all over them. All right, I kind of feel bad for the guys, because they can't ask for help as easily as a woman can, because women can ask for help and the men will give it. A man asks for help and he feels like he's weaker, or maybe even the guy he's asking for help feels like he's weaker. So it's different for the guys. As far as finding the mentor, golly, anybody I have ever met who is successful feels fabulous when they help. All of my girlfriends, everybody I know looks forward to what the Business Journal has, a mentoring Monday, where we get to be mentors, for the day, and it expands then into the year. But just ask. just ask. And you don't even have to ask, hey, will you be my mentor? That, because that's kind of could be an awkward question. Just start asking questions. And what will mostly happen, probably, is the person that you're talking to, the business person you're asking, will say, well, let's go have coffee. And it will develop into a relationship and develop into the mentor. Because because the thing is, when you first meet somebody, you're not so sure you want to mentor them. I mean, will you mesh? Until you have a couple of coffees, you really probably don't even know. So just create a friendship, I think.
Rosie, what about you? Any advice you'd give about mentorship?
Well, I think for me, it's normally someone that you meet in business and you start, like Gail said, develop a relationship with, and then you see how they are perceived by others, and you think, again, you mirror yourself about somebody. There's something about that person that you liked and you want to find out how they did that, and you ask, okay? And what's interesting about that is most people do want to help you, okay? Male or female. I will tell you an interesting thing happened to me, which I thought was kind of, I don't look at myself as saying, oh, I'm somebody, but obviously I'm in these magazines and things and I don't pay a lot of attention to it, but people say, oh, I saw you in a magazine. Okay. So I'm at some event and a lady comes up to me and she says, hi, are you Rosie? Yes, I am. Who are you? I'm so-and-so. And I read about you in such and such magazine, and I would really like to go to coffee with you. Great. Handed her my card, said I'd love to meet with you. Now, we've been lifetime friends, and I have been mentoring her ever since, okay? And so what I'm saying is that is how it's done, and you have to open yourself up a little bit. Don't be too close-minded. You want to know if you do mesh, but normally when people really want to learn about something, if it's a fit right off. And it's actually kind of rewarding to me to know that you could help somebody else in their life and they can get a leg up in life, because that's what it's all about, helping other people succeed. So it's fun.
Beth, how about you?
Yeah, I agree 100% with what both Gail and Rosie said. I think when you're very young in a new role or with a new company, I think it's important to reach out and develop those relationships. And I think then those mentor-mentee relationships really just happen organically and naturally, and you feel comfortable. I know there's a lot of different companies, and we even do that based on what level you get assigned a mentor. I think those can work well as long as you understand the rules, that the mentor is not a coach, and it's the mentor's, not your sponsor, sitting at the table for the next promotion. They're there to help really guide you as you navigate your role and where you are in the organization. For me, I found a mentor very quickly out of college when I went to work at McGladrey, and he's actually still one of my lifetime mentors 35 years later. When I was deciding if I was going to leave public accounting to come over to J. Dunn, he was the first person I called. He lives down in Texas now, just to go through the pros and cons of, do I leave this career I've been at 28 years with one company and go start something new? So that's really that mentor is someone that you feel comfortable talking about both professional and personal, and just navigating life. So I think sometimes it works to assign it. Other times it's just going to happen, like Rosie said, organically. But if you don't have one, if you don't have that person, I strongly believe in the role. You just kind of have to find who you're most comfortable with. And I agree with Gail. It can be a man, it could be a woman. It's whoever you're most comfortable with.
Thanks, ladies.
Yeah.
Well, we do have, Melanie, if you're okay with me jumping into a question we have here too, and I want to say something to the mentor thing. I think you guys are all really smart to have done that, because having that person is so important, and I think that oftentimes, and I'm going to throw a little male perspective, males don't seek those, and that's a mistake. I think it's a huge mistake. A couple of mentors when I first started the chamber are now have passed on, but they were so important in my early success and career. And I think anyone who doesn't have a mentor, and the mentor can be younger than you too. I mean, they don't have to be older than you. They can be somebody younger than you. Just respect them, and you have a lot of respect for. So I applaud that. Now, here's something interesting that we got from one of our attendees today that I think probably everyone has experienced, whether they be young or male or female or whatever. In an office environment, though, here's something that specifically is for women. They're often asked to do extra admin work, whether it's party planning committee or taking notes during meetings or booking conference rooms. And I guess the question was more like, how do you determine when you just do it, or when you stand your ground and say, you know, I don't think I want to do that. So love to hear any experiences from any of you that maybe you've experienced that and how you handled it. So I'll turn things over, maybe Gail first, if you had that come up.
You know, I haven't had that come up very often. I mean, it was weird because my dad always expected me to, for a long time, until I figured out that I wasn't going to be a secretary. He thought that I should be at that time, you know, that time of life, it was secretary, it was administrative assistant. Other than him, nobody ever talked to me, or I was never in a situation where that would come up. So I'm probably not a good person to ask.
Okay, Beth, how about you?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start over my 35 years. I'll give you some recent ones. Just at Jay Dunn.
Recent? You know? Oh dear.
Yeah,
oh dear.
I've had a lot of it over all the years. It always cracks me up how guys don't seem to know how to make coffee. So I mean, I'll stand at our coffee machine here, and I don't know if their spouses make it on the weekends. I don't know, but I'll just stand and I'll watch. And so a guy will come in and go shh, shh, and it's empty. And I'm saying, and I'll stand there. I'm like, I'm going to teach you how to make a pot of coffee. We don't have it right now because of COVID.
Right.
My approach has always been, I kind of stop them in their tracks and say, here, this is how you make coffee. They didn't hire me to make your coffee. This is how you make coffee.
Teach them how to fish. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always stopped, and I've had that over my whole career where somebody will see me coming on an audit when I was in public accounting and asked if I was the administrative assistant. I'm like, no, I'm the audit partner, and then so you deal with it. You're very respectful, but just say, no, this is my role. I can go help you find that person that's can go get you stamps or whatever that is. So kind of put it in perspective. Rosie's probably got a lot. And she has all her brothers too that she has to deal with.
Yeah. Rosie, how about you?
So, my attitude is a little different than that. To me, that never bothered me. I want to fetch my own coffee. I mean,
Yeah.
You've got people here who'll do it for me. I even put my own machine in my office, so I make my own now, so I don't even want to mess with them, okay? And my brothers, they've got the little spout thing over there. Well, did she bring it yet? I go, well, you can just make it right here. I mean, damn. I just like, come on. But I guess what I was going to say is I can remember when I first started, that was part of my job. I was the secretary. I went through all those different positions. So in a way, that was the way I learned how to take myself up to the top. So for me, it was a little different. I used that as a stepping stone. So the more I wrote, the more I learned, the smarter I got. So it just depends. Now, if they're asking you in a demeaning way, that's another story. But I've always been very, quote, outspoken, they say. And so I would just tell somebody, if I didn't want to make their coffee, go make your own. I mean, I don't think there's any shame in that. I just think you need to know how to answer in a way that's going to give you the right respect that you need. Okay. And if you're not comfortable making it, you should speak up. If it's not your role, you should speak up. But if it's no big deal to you, make it, I don't know. It's kind of like a husband and wife. Who does this and who does that? I don't know. It just becomes, sometimes we almost take it too far. That's all.
Melanie, that statement leads into the next question. Do you see that on your screen there? You want to take that one?
Sure. We talked, there's a question out there asking about careers and balance for, how do you balance that work life and home? And what does that look like for you at work?
Anybody?
What?
Yeah, anybody specific?
I'll go. I feel like I have good balance. I pretty much, can come and go and do as I please. My husband does a lot for me. I do what I need to do for him. We work it out. I think you can have it all. Personally, I feel like I do. I mean, if you're making enough money, you can afford a babysitter. If you're making the money that you need to make, you can pretty much do what you need to do in order to get things done. You can pay people to help you. I don't know. I think you can have everything that you want. Personally, I think it's achievable. So I think I have work life and balance. But see, remember, I don't feel like my job is work. That's the difference. Okay, so I can go home every night, even right now, and if I have emails, I'll be up to 11 o'clock emailing people. They get mad at me. They say, how do you do that? I go, I don't know. I was just playing around. I thought about something I wanted to tell you. Okay, so it depends on how you feel about what is work and how you have to turn it off. I don't turn mine off, so I don't feel like it's work.
I agree with Rosie. She's got a very good point. And I think that to achieve what Rosie has achieved, it requires a good life partner. Your husband or wife at home needs to understand this is how you feel about work, and not really care or be bothered by the fact that you're going to answer your emails at home. And so the work-life balance truly has something to do with your partner at home. Mm-hmm. Because I'm with Rosie. I don't have a problem with my work-life balance. I work a lot of hours, but when I'm at home, I have a good time, but I still work at home. So it's just, and like Rosie, it's not real work. It's what I love to do. I just love it. It's more of a challenge. It's more of a game. So I'm still playing the game. How can you stop playing the game?
Yeah, and I'll add mine. So I agree. You have to have a good partner at home to make it work. So when my children were 7, 4, and 1 years old, actually 8, 5, and 2, I did take a 3-year sabbatical because I was to the point of losing that work-life balance. I had young children. I was feeling like I should kind of get off that work roller coaster and just spend it focused on my kids. And I did that till my youngest went to kindergarten, so about 2.5 years, and then got back on and just slowly turned that faucet back on. So I think each of us as individuals need to, you only go through as I mentor younger women, I always say you go through life once, right? You only get one life. And so you've got to decide, and it's really you and your spouse have to decide what's more important at any point in your journey. And for my husband and I, at that point, we sat down and talked about it, and he could have stayed home because I could have stayed home. And he's like, well, I'll stay home, but it's not going to make you happy because you feel like you want to stay home. And so staying home, it was a great thing to do. I did realize I'm much better mother going to work every day. And so I went back to McGladrey and back to public accounting. And then eventually came over to J. Dunn. So I'm a better mother being at work. So it worked out great. So I just think to me, work-life balance, family integration is so unique to each individual and what your personal desires are. A lot of us are better going to work every day because we come home as a better mother and a better father, and others, one of the spouse stay home. So I think it really is very individual, but you can do it all. You can make it all work.
Good info. Go ahead, Melanie. No.
So was there a time in your career where you felt you weren't supported, maybe on a decision or by a team member or by management? And is there something within that event that motivated you to lead towards the success or anything there? Anything specific in your history that you can remember where you did not have that support, and what did that look like? Beth, let's start with you.
So yeah, I probably have just one defining moment. We were actually living in North Carolina. I had my third child and wanted to cut back on the hours, and this was with my mentor of life that I still talk to all the time. But I thought he cut my pay a little bit more, a lot more than I thought he should have. So I just went right back at him, and I wouldn't say did an ultimatum, but kind of did an ultimatum. And my husband and I, we did kind of brainstorming, and that really was what brought us to Kansas City, was kind of to stay with the firm and have a fresh start and get my comp back where I thought it should be and have the flexibility. So I kind of, flexibility wasn't big for women in public accounting, and I wanted a little more flexibility, but I was still going to get the job done. So that was a defining moment. It all worked out great, and I just kind of pushed it back to the organization and said, no, you need to value me more than right now what you're valuing me. And it all worked out great. So that was a defining moment.
Rosie, how about you?
Well, I remember when I first took over and we had the electricians that worked for my dad. Okay. So, these were older men, very few women, who I'm trying to change the culture to my culture. And this sounds ridiculous, but it was about how we were going to wear a hard hat, okay? And what safety rules we were putting in place, and how we were going to handle workman's compensation if someone got hurt, and what these, trying to roll out a process and a procedure. And we're having a meeting. I mean, I know these guys thought I was crazy. I was making them do exercises in the meeting, and they didn't want to do it. So I passed out all these hard hats. I said, okay, now this is the standard. Guy tells me I'm not going to wear it. I go, then don't let the door hit you in the, what? And, I had my family members, everybody against me. Oh my God, you just let the best people go. I said, you know what? If I'm going to be in charge, and I have to do what I have to do, then I have to live by my decisions. And those people left, okay? They came back and worked for me 3 times after that. So, the grass wasn't greener somewhere else. They came back. So I did it in the right way, but I had to hold my ground and say, hey, this is the culture that we are going to have. And if I don't live by it myself, then I can be the leader that I need to be. So, that's a small instance. I have thousands of other stories, but they are so colorful I couldn't say them out loud.
Gail, how about you?
Well, like Rosie, I've got a million stories. The biggest one is probably when I very first bought the dealership. I bought the dealership with my brother. He and I were partners, and our partnership split after a year. And at that time, when we bought the dealership, we were owner financed by Dad. And when we split, Dad told me, well, since you are driving your brother into bankruptcy, which I wasn't, but anyway, that's what was said. That's a male thing. That's my nest egg. I need you to pay me up front everything, and you've got 45 days. And so I was like, shoot, 45 days. So it wasn't the same ultimatum to my brother, because he was a guy, and Dad was not worried about his nest egg. He was worried about the nest egg that was in my hands. So it was really hard. And I went into a big depression because, for Dad to not have faith in me and to think that, what am I going to do? And I went from bank to bank to bank, and everybody was turning me down. And it was so hard. It was, man, I tell you what, finally, I was like 5 days before my 45th day, I found a bank to give me the loan. So I went to Dad and I said, hey, listen, it's going to take me a minute to get everything through the paperwork. So give me an additional time. And so he gave me 60 days. And I got it done. But, you know, at that time, I was very angry with Dad and depressed. I went through a big state of depression. It was cries, tears, everything. I was by myself crying. But looking back, that was the greatest thing my dad ever did for me. I don't know. He probably would have helped me out in the end. I don't know. But he forced me to suck it up, pull up my big girl pants, and go out there and get it done. Because, I mean, he was at that point doing that same thing he always did. You got to jump this high if you're going to make it in life. And so he was like, you know, pushing the baby bird out of the nest. You're going to either fly or you're going to hit the ground, but I will save you before you hit the ground. But I think he would have saved me. I really don't know. I believe he would have, looking back in time. And I'm the person I am today because of what I went through then. And since then, I've gone through several other things really hard because the way I was looked at because I was a woman and kind of a goofy woman. So, you know, I mean, I'm not goofy. I just look beautiful.
Okay.
Let's make that clear.
We know that. You are not.
But so that's that was the first real big sign of, wow, it's different out there.
That's great. Well, you know, I know we a lot said we try and wind this up around 10, so we've got a couple other great questions. I kind of heard this, so let's give a 30-second or less answer, because this is, I think, important for everyone in their career. Tell us about your sleep and exercise and how that affects your attitude towards work and your ability to do work every day. How do you guys each balance that? Gail, let's start with you.
Oh man, I can sleep like a baby because I feel like what I'm doing is right and good. And as long as you do that and you have my faith, I've got, you know, I'm not going to preach God or anything, but I mean, as long as you have that faith and you believe that you are being guided, it makes you relax. And so I go to sleep, I get my 8 hours of sleep, probably 6 hours of sleep every night. And I don't work out, but I do ride a horse a lot. And so that's really my workout. But I can tell you when I don't ride my horse, I have to ride my Peloton because it just makes everything go away. Kind of like my motorcycle does. You know, you can forget, you can escape life with exercise.
Exactly.
So I think more clearly.
Rosie?
Well, I have a trainer. So I train with the trainer twice a week, 7 o'clock in the morning. Still get to work by 8:10. I don't know how I do that, but I seem to manage. I don't live far from work. Yeah. And then I work out on my own the rest of the week. So I do enjoy doing that. And I don't require a lot of sleep. So 6 hours is plenty. If I get 8, that's great. But most of the time I'm up and ready to go. But so I don't know, like Gail said, life is good. So you just keep on trucking. But exercise, I do think, helps get stuff out of your system and, you know, lets those endorphins out. So I think that's really important. Even if you just walk or, you know, sometimes I just go outside and walk around my pool 100 times just to do some, you know, paths. That's all. So It doesn't have to be a lot.
Right. Beth, how about you?
So I am one of those people that does need a lot of sleep. So I get about 8 to 8.5 hours every night. And if I can, 9 is probably perfect. So I usually am in bed by 9:30 at night. Big exerciser. I'm a big runner, core, anything, walker, anything to, as Rosie said, get all that stress relieved every day.
I need you to be my exercise mentor, Beth.
There you go. There you go.
And sleep, both. So, well, Melanie, you cool with winding things up here?
Yeah. So let's end with any piece of advice you'd give our attendees. Please keep in mind that we have both men and women on the line. Anything that that you would say could help promote professional growth and development in women in the workplace? Rosie, you want to take that one?
Sure. You know, we live in a really complicated world, I think, today. And I think you need female and male friends. You need to find common ground and find unity. And it takes a lot of work to have friends on both sides. And you need to never give up on your friends, and you need to be persistent. That's it.
How about you?
We lost.
Oh, we just lost Gail.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Bye, Gail. Hope she'll come back. Hope she
Beth,
comes
how
back.
about you? Last piece of advice for our attendees.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I just got to continue to stay passionate, stay positive, live a good life, take care of each other, stay positive. And, you know, I always try and stay positive, look at the positive side of people, look at intent, and just take care of yourself.
Wonderful. Well, thank
Well,
you, ladies, for joining.
Yeah, and stay tuned for, I guess, Gail's thoughts on maybe on the chamber newsletter, a reason to read the chamber newsletter, what Gail's thoughts are. So that'd be good. Yeah, it's been great. I just really want to thank all of you guys for joining us today and all of our participants. And, you know, I think it's very evident, and I feel like each one of us, including me, have been very fortunate. We love our jobs. And I think loving what you do is key to success in every career. And I think that you guys are fortunate that you've all found something that you really, really enjoy. And I think that's important, and it shows when you're speaking. So I am going to show you what, and you know, again, help me, technology. I am going to try to share our last our last slide here, and let's see, talking about our next series of this on October 1st that's coming up, and I think this will be great. You know, it says time and location to be determined. Well, the chamber this week next week is experimenting with our first in-person event, social distancing, masks, lunch to go versus lunch at a table. So, you know, we're going to try this and see, because I do think we're all going to have to adapt a little more to figuring out ways to continue to do some of the things we've done, but maybe in modified ways. So hopefully we'll be able to do this one in person, but if not, I think this webinar worked out great. And Gail and Beth and Rosie, thank you so much for joining us. Melanie, thanks for being my co-host today. We should do this regularly. We should start a show, I think. The Melanie and Kevin show. So it'd be great. So maybe.
Kevin, thank you for inviting me, and I'm sure Beth feels the same way. You guys have been great. It's been very enjoyable. I thank you for asking me personally to be involved. Appreciate it.
Well, and thanks to my whole team, Deanna and Trish and George that helped promote it, and Alan that kept track of all the money. So I appreciate all the work that everybody did to get this together today. This video, for those of you who are on here, we'll have a video recording this available here in the next couple of days. So if there's any things you want to go back and review, those will be available. So with that, I guess we're gonna sign off for today. Thanks everybody for being here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.